At the end of the day, every one of us need to prepare, but there's resources that have got to come from somewhere.
I think that we have a job to do as worship leaders, worship pastors, tech directors. We've got a role in helping people bring a good offering. And so resourcing has everything to do with that.
Hey, what's up, MxU? My name is Dylan here with the MxU podcast. We're so thankful you're joining on to listen to today's episode. MxU, in case you didn't know, is the leading resource for church, worship, and tech teams. Today, we have Jordan Pinkston from Mobile,
Yeah.
Alabama.
Close enough.
Love it. Today, we're going to talk about why resourcing inside the church is important. And I feel like you have some incredible insight on not only how the way you guys do things at your church, but also just the capital C church. How can we help resource? Throw some ideas out, some suggestions. If you're listening to this, you're a worship pastor, you're a production director, whatever your role may be, and you're thinking, man, like, we need help with the resourcing. First, I just want to ask you, why is resourcing even important to begin with?
Yeah, I think it's massive for preparation. If everything that the Lord wants is offering, I think that we have a job to do as worship leaders, worship pastors, tech directors, whatever your title may be, music director. We've got a role in helping people bring a good offering.
Right.
And so if that's truly what the Lord wants, which we know it is in Scripture, if it needs to be pleasing to Him, then we got a part to play.
Yeah. And
so resourcing has everything to do with that. It's a way we honor, our volunteers. I think it's always so hard to schedule somebody and get them prepared in 5 days. So we try like 14, 21 days, schedule out, have what they need already there so they're not waiting on us. So that the biggest thing is that they're not waiting on staff who get paid full time to do this. When they're get off their shift work, they need to be able to go home and do what they need to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And recently, we just released a podcast where it was, around the idea of leaving a rehearsal energized. And one of the key points that we talked about in that podcast was we feel like across the board, teams may not be leaving energized because of the lack of preparation,
right?
Which, from a staff standpoint, that may be a lack of resourcing. So break down the difference, like for volunteers. Are you paid musicians at your church, volunteers?
Some.
Okay,
Yeah.
So we got a little bit of both here.
Yeah.
So let's speak to both audiences. Let's speak to the church that has just volunteers, and let's speak to the church that has a blend. Let's speak to the church that has all staff. At the end of the day, every one of us need to prepare.
Right.
But there's resources that have got to come from somewhere. And I realize you got a team at church that helps staff all this and resource this. But from your point of view, what kind of resources do you put in play for your musicians and vocals?
Yeah. So
and let's just speak to it. And I know that we got a worship pastor here, which is great. We're going to naturally speak to the worship pastor, worship leader, which is great. But if you have some resourcing ideas for production as well, feel free to add those in.
Yeah, for sure. So start with vocalists. For us, it comes down to lyrics. When to know, like they need to know when to sing, when to not. So our structure, I know it's different. Every church has kind of their different vocal structure, but ours is we do a vocal guide that's literally the lyrics. You shouldn't have to go to Google to figure out because the arrangement may be completely
different. So your vocal guide, is it like a lyrics? I'm just going to interrupt you because I want to just pick it apart here. Yep. So your vocal guide, will it be like the song laid out with lyrics? Will it be tenor, alto, soprano, melody? Like, does it say what, when, where, how, who, right, all that? Is it like super detailed and super laid out?
It's super detailed because inside of Planning Center, which we can talk about Planning Center here shortly, we have just two things. This is who's leading the song, and this is who's on part. Now, at our church, we got 6 vocals, but we decided one person leads and one person sings a harmony part. The other 4 for us just sing the melody. That gives the worship leader opportunity to kind of come off the melody and actually lead without losing that melody. So if I look at our vocal guide, it's exactly, we don't just say chorus again or chorus times 2. We're going to put chorus, all the whole lyric in there. It's easier for Pro Presenter 2 to look through, just push the over button instead of having to guess where we're going. So all of our arrangements are pre-selected via staff during the week. And so everything's in there. If it's just the worship leader singing, it's black. It's all color-coded. When the rest of the melody comes in, it's purple. And when the part is supposed to go to part, it's red. So if I know that I'm the worship leader, and my wife Shannon is on part, she knows, okay, by verse 2 or chorus 2, that's where it's read. That's where I'm supposed to sing part. So it takes a lot of the guessing game out and gives us quality. They show up knowing what they're doing. We show up knowing what they're doing. And it just kind of takes off that question mark variable. When do I sing? How do I, like,
Great.
Yeah, it's all there.
Yep. So that's vocals.
Yep.
What about musicians?
So musicians.
And hop back on vocals for a second. Is vocals different than worship leaders? And what I mean by that is maybe we want a worship leader to do a journey moment, a talking moment, a worship leader moment, whatever we call it at your church.
Yep.
Is that guided as well, or is that more just speak from the heart, whatever God puts in your heart in the moment? Just feel free to lead because you're a leader for a reason type of situation.
If sometimes those are designated pieces in Planning Center, sometimes they're not.
Okay.
So if we know we're going to set up a new song, or we know that we want to do the scripture here coming off the last song, we'll put that in Planning Center. 2 minutes, Jordan, and then I don't have to put my whole thing in there. I kind of know. I watch the clock. We run a running clock, and so I kind of know where that's at, where I'm at in the set. So yeah, we're some of those moments are guided out, but most of them aren't. Worship close every week is not. It's just after the song, so worship leader will close, and we give it time.
All right, sorry, musicians.
Yep. Yeah, so musicians, it's a big deal for us in Planning Center. Within Planning Center, we do what we call up tracks, and I know that may not be a normal term for some people. So we'll have bass, and we'll gain everything, all the other instruments down, and leave bass there, or gain bass up, so that when you're listening to the song, you know exactly, and you're playing bass, you know exactly where they come in. It's really easy to pick that apart. And so just like we do that for bass, we do that for EG, acoustic, keys, all of it. Just so that they don't have to sift through and go, was he playing the 4? What was he doing there? It's really obvious to hear kind of what that is. And so the biggest thing I feel like that our volunteers love the most is we do what we call a full flow during the week, and it's up 2 weeks early. And so it's the exact, when we use Ableton for us, but it's the exact flow, all 18 to 20 minutes, so that you can, on the way to work, whatever it is, on Tuesday, push play, and you can hear with click the whole set. So we know the space that's in between song 2 and 3. We know kind of where all the moments are, and it's built in. It also helps us staff to know this is where our overall time is, so we can communicate that with, to production. And
that's awesome. And I'm sorry if I missed this. Did you say when you release that as a resource?
Yeah,
when
usually
do you try to get that out?
So usually it's 2 weeks.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah, usually 2 weeks, just to give our, we want to be able to give our people margin and time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes we miss that, for a reason, one or the other, and but we try to give ample time, to our people.
10,000 feet, not to rush through it.
Nope.
What about production? Like, just generalize. Do you know how you guys resource your production teams? Is there a way? Do they see the vocal lineup? So I know as an audio engineer, like, okay, we have this part coming in, or
yeah. So we're blessed at our church, and I know, not all of them are. Where we have our staff is great, and so we have on Thursday mornings a weekend walkthrough is what we call it, and so it's staffed out. Everybody from videos in the room, graphics are in the room, worship's in the room from all 3 campuses. We've got 3 campuses. So if you're staff and you're on worship or production staff or creative, you come to our broadcast campus Thursday mornings. We run through the whole set. We run through videos, and that gives our production leads a good time to take notes. Hey, right here, this is where we're dipping into the stream. This is where we're coming out. But also gives worship. I mean, we leave Thursday and we know exactly what it's going to feel like. That word was misspelled. Let's make sure there's just a lot of eyes on it at that point, and it keeps us from siloing and then only bringing our stuff together on Sunday. We get to silo and then come together on a Thursday, put our arms around each other. Man, this is great. Let's pray over the weekend, every campus. So it's a big unifier for us, what we've found. But back to production, it gives them a good chance to see it. If there was a vocal guide mistake, let's catch that on Thursday so that we can enjoy our Friday, enjoy our Saturday, show up. We don't do a midweek rehearsal. That's how much we believe in kind of the resources we're putting out. And because of Thursday, I know I said it's all staff, but if there's a new drummer coming in that's playing Sunday and he can come Thursday to that weekend walkthrough, dude, come on. Let's get a rep. Let's feel it, get you comfortable, get us comfortable. So it works well.
No, that's good. Okay, so staff heavy, paid musicianship heavy, for the churches that do that,
Sure.
it's a great resource during the week. Like, let's take full advantage of that. If you're not doing that, hop on a Thursday, do whatever day, pick the day that's best for you, that works best for you. And I'll speak to the church that doesn't have that opportunity, right? And I really think we talked about Planning Center several times now. I believe when you utilize Planning Center at its fullest, it can really be the guide.
Right.
And I also am a big believer that if we actually are effective leaders in a weekend role as either production director, worship leader, whatever your role may be for the weekend, I believe you're an effective leader when you can eliminate questions for the weekend. I know I've been effective at my job when my teams are the most prepared and resourced Monday through Friday, leading a church with only volunteers and not an option of having that staff. What are some ways that you think would help the listener go, I only have weeknights? What are some different ways to communicate? How do I over-communicate to my volunteers? What are some ideas on Planning Center, if you know any, that could help with that when I can't get people together during the week?
Yeah. So if there's two things that those that work with me know, have heard me say, it's let's do what makes sense for us. And that's different for everybody. And let's over-communicate. I'd rather hear something 5 times than never, or even once. I'd rather hear it 5 times. So what we've had to do before we really figured out this vein of resourcing is voice memos. I can't tell you how many times I would just be at the house, hey, this is what or other people ask questions. So when you're playing in C, how do you, and I love to either do a video or and that's what makes sense in that moment for me and for us. So if you're not on Planning Center yet, or you're not the Ableton or the what I called up tracks, if all that is so foreign to you, that's fine. Don't overthink it. The goal is to make sure that your people know what to expect come Sunday, and so I hardly like text now. I do voice text because it's just so much easier for me to talk to volunteers. Hey, when you're practicing, don't forget when you get to that bridge, and it's just whether they know it or not. They feel supported, on Tuesday when I'm taking time to go as their leader to go, hey, I was thinking about you when I was listening to this. Don't forget that, whatever that is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's do what makes sense. And maybe that's not what everybody else is doing. And that's totally fine. If it works for you, then roll.
How many changes do you see taking place after your Thursday? Like, we try to resource as best as we can to make sure that Thursday or that nightly rehearsal or whatever the case is for whatever church you're listening to from, whatever. How many changes take place? Because if we're trying to treat that Thursday or that midweek rehearsal as our first service for us, do we implement a lot of change after that? I mean, how do we resource that? How do we resource it if pastor is a last-minute pastor and pastor comes in on a Sunday and goes, man, I'd rather do We Praise You instead of whatever. Do you have any insight on that? Because that's a common thing for churches.
For sure, yeah. I mean, ultimately, when it comes to that, I'm there to support my pastor.
Yeah, it's good.
And if the band can't get in line, then hey, let me just take this one to make sure we hit his vision.
Yeah,
I think it'd be cool to start this way. Let me do praise, and we'll bring everybody out. So it's ultimately, I'm there to be his guy, and when whatever helps him the most for 35 minutes or however long he's speaking. I want to set him up the best. As far as Thursday goes, what we're finding is the only thing we're tweaking at this point. Now I've been there 13 years, so it's a good, bad, and ugly. We've seen how to do it. You've been there for 13 years. 13 years, yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That's a good run.
Yeah, for sure. There was times where we were changing a ton, and I would walk into Sunday even going, what did we do? Like what change did we make 2 days ago or whatever, 3 days ago? So what we've found is there's not a ton of change. If there is, it's within the worship set. Like, hey, let's, even down to chord progressions, let's, instead of keep going through the chord, can we just stay on the one or the root note and just sit there for a second, and then you can fire the new track, or then we can count in the new track. It's really just a space thing rather than major tweaks. Like, we're not changing songs on Thursday. You know what I mean?
It's good.
If anything, we may pull one, but we're not going to add one. So if times, we're going way too long, we feel on a Thursday like, hey, it actually felt like we were out saying our welcome here. Let's pull the third song and maybe add a worship leader moment there, and I'll connect song 2 to song 3. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so
that's good.
If anything, we'll shorten it, and then volunteers just rehearse the 3 songs. Like, they just prepare the 3 songs.
All right, Jordan, again, man, thanks for being here. This has been incredible. You've given us a lot of resources, a lot of tools on how to be just a better, effective vocal musician, even some for our production guys and girls listening. And it's been incredible, even for myself. How can I take some of those things, apply it to where I'm currently serving? It's been very, very good. But one thing to note, as we're listening to this, of course, all of our churches look differently.
Right.
And it is a different scenario for all of us, whether it be staff, volunteer, whatever the case may be. Man, my only encouragement to you, if you're listening to this going, well, that must be nice to have a staff like that. Don't get there. Do what's best for you. Do what's best for your culture. Just take some of these ideas and evolve it to who you are and what you're doing and the styles of leadership that you are in your culture. Like, just do what's best for that in those scenarios. And we did mention Planning Center a lot, so I think it'd be right just to say that we do have a Planning Center course here at MxU. It's linked in the description below. And if you want to know anything about Planning Center in depth, make sure you go and check that course out. So, MxU, we'll see you in the next podcast.
See ya.